You're watching ABC4 News, celebrating 75 years.
House lawmakers racing against the clock to save the country from a financial disaster. And as of right now, they are not any closer to a deal on lifting the nation's debt ceiling. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy saying his party will advance their budget plan despite what they call President Biden's refusal to negotiate on spending cuts. But some Democrats say the GOP is taking too long to unveil specifics. President Biden says failing to act now will lead to disaster.
To throw us in a gigantic recession and beyond.
The Treasury Department says it should have a more precise date for when it will run out of money and default on the debt once it calculates this year's income tax receipts.
And today is tax day, so if you've procrastinated filing your taxes until now, experts say you may want to think about filing for an extension. You can do that by going to irs.gov. This will give you until October 16th to file your tax return. An extension gives you more time to file your returns, but it doesn't give you more time to pay the government if you owe money. If you're getting a refund, you should see your money in about 21 days or less, and even sooner if it's direct deposit. So you can track your refund with the IRS's website, Where's My Refund tool.
Behind the Badge, brought to you by Big O Tires.
If you've ever thought about becoming a firefighter, now may be a chance.
Yes, departments across the country, including Grantsville here in Utah, are looking for some good volunteers. Brian Carlson has the story in Behind the Badge report tonight.
You may be surprised how many firefighters in Utah actually do it for free. It's a job that's in demand and takes a high level of dedication. One volunteer firefighters do every day in Grantsville.
Being a firefighter in Grantsville and Tooele County requires more commitment than you may expect. Once you finish training, you don't get paid. Grantsville is one of 145 Utah fire departments, all completely volunteer.
A lot of hours, a lot of nighttime, a lot away from birthdays, you know. I've been called away from my kids' birthdays and, you know, stuff like prom night and whatnot. You get called away.
Grantsville Fire Chief Travis Daniels says he and his team all work regular day jobs.
I'm tying in 7 seconds. I work for Xfinity. I'm a network technician for them.
But when he gets the call, he goes to the fire.
If you're within, you know, the city limits, whatnot, you're expected to respond when the page comes in.
Although the job doesn't come with a paycheck, it's one these firefighters enjoy.
It's what I love. It's the lifestyle I like.
Each with a strong sense of service.
All I want is to serve my community. I've grown up here my whole life.
Serve the community, help my brother out.
I guess it's in my genes.
And for the fire chief, it's all in the family. He and his wife both volunteer as firefighters for Grantsville, sometimes even working the same fire on the same fire hose.
You know, she still wants to be my wife when we're here. And I've told her early on, it's like, when we're here, you're a firefighter like everybody else. There's no special treatment.
I grab it, throw it up, you know what I mean?
Regardless who's suiting up with Daniel's team, he says they train hard.
This is how we get up on the roof of burning building.
So if you have a fire, you can expect the same firefighter response as if it was their only job.
Now, Chief Daniels tells me one of the biggest challenges of a volunteer fire department is actually finding enough volunteers. He says it's a nationwide issue. So if you want to volunteer to fight fires, they can always use help. According to the Utah Fire Marshal's Office, right now Utah has 208 fire departments across the state. 70% are volunteer-based. Back to you.
In a weather alert tonight, it looks like Utah's had enough of those sunny blue skies and perfect spring weather, right? Check out this video from I-15 in Midvale earlier today. Some ominous clouds sitting in the sky, bringing thunderstorms and even hail to the state. But of course, just wait a few hours, a little later in the afternoon, the sun popping out again.
So it goes in Utah. Just wait a few hours.
Yeah, and that wind has really been whipping today, Thomas.
Yeah, that's the one thing that's been constant through today is how strong those winds have been. But you talked about some hail, and we saw some pretty big hail in the Beehive State, especially in northern Utah. This was shared by Darren Brooks. Hail in the avenues around ½ inch. You don't want to be outside anytime you see hail that large, and that's why we saw the National Weather Service issue that severe thunderstorm warning around midday today. But the storms also produced a decent amount of wet weather, so these precipitation totals rather healthy, near ½ an inch in Grantsville, Magna close to 0.2 of an inch, and even the University of Utah picking up over 1/10 of an inch, and also Salt Lake City International Airport also has as well. But those winds, they have been consistent today. And the high wind warnings and the wind advisories that we have for the northwestern portion of the state, including the Wasatch Front, will continue through 8 o'clock this evening. Within the high wind warning, we could see some gusts upwards of 65 miles per hour, 55 miles per hour elsewhere. Then in the eastern portion of the state, stretching from the Uinta Basin all the way down into southeastern Utah, those wind advisories will continue through 9 o'clock this evening. So it will continue to be windy, not only within those wind advisories, but really across the entire state, as we're right now gusting between 20 and 40 miles per hour in the northern half of the state, gusting to 45 miles per hour right now in Vernal. It's gusting to 38 miles per hour in Cedar City, not included within the wind advisory, gusting to 25 in St. George, and we're seeing plenty of wind gusts over 30 miles per hour in the south central portion of the state. Here's the view from Bryce Canyon, and as you look to the flags off in the distance, you can definitely tell it's windy. Not seeing too much in the way of cloud coverage, but we are seeing some blowing dust around the southern half of the state and in northern Utah for that matter, especially in the northwestern portion of the state in that high wind warning. And those temperatures, they're on the cool side of things. We're at 40 degrees in Logan, 46 in both Ogden and Salt Lake City. We've already dropped into the 20s near the base of Park City Mountain Resort, and we're sitting at 75 degrees in St. George. So everybody's a little bit cooler compared to what we saw yesterday, but that's magnified in the northern half of the state, where in Logan, you're seeing that sloppy spring snow. As it hits the ground, it melts because the temperature in Logan just above the freezing mark. We did see a little bit of accumulations on those grassy surfaces, but those roads are running wet in Cache Valley, so make sure that you're building in extra time for that evening commute. The cold front now moving into the southeastern portion of the state. Most of the wet weather that we're seeing in northern Utah has migrated up into the mountains, but we're still seeing times of rain around Provo. Between Salt Lake City and Bountiful, still seeing rain, so be prepared for a slick evening commute. And then as we make our way into the northernmost portion of the state, seeing times of rain and snow in Cache Valley. The chance for wet weather will gradually begin to go down as we go into this evening, but the winter weather advisories that we have for the Wasatch Mountains will hold until 7 o'clock this evening, as we still could see between 1 to 3 inches of additional snowfall with some pretty gusty winds. Let's go ahead and begin the Futurecast at 7 o'clock this evening. And as we go from this evening into tonight, you'll notice that in the northern half of the state, things calm down a little bit as high pressure tries to briefly build in. But in the northeastern half of the state and down into central Utah, a few showers can't be ruled out, maybe as far south as the northern portion of Iron County. The bulk of Wednesday looks mostly quiet thanks to that high pressure briefly building in. Winds out of the north will keep those temperatures below our seasonal averages. But from the second half of Wednesday into Thursday, another wave of energy moves in, and we'll see the chance for wet weather increase once again in the northern half of the state. But those daytime highs in northern Utah will mainly be in the 30s and 40s tomorrow, with a few spots along the Wasatch Front getting to right around 50 degrees. We'll mainly see partly cloudy skies. Then down in southern Utah, mainly 40s and 50s, with a few spots like St. George getting into the 60s, which is just a little bit below our seasonal averages. But we should be back to averages by the time we get into Thursday. Overnight lows the next couple of nights in St. George will be on the chilly side of things, but you'll notice that as we make our way into Saturday and Sunday, daytime highs back in the upper 70s and back into the 80s by Sunday. Then along the Wasatch Front, a slight chance for tomorrow, and that's mainly during the second half of the day. So calmer conditions once we get into tonight, dropping into the low and mid 30s the next couple of nights. A chance of rain and snow on Thursday. Nothing significant down in our valleys, but then dry into this weekend before we bring back a chance on Monday. But the important thing to notice here is we're not seeing too big of a warm up, even though we will be warming up into the weekend.
Yeah, that's nice.